The Honourable Member for Elmwood.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to my longtime great friend and colleague, Jason Schreyer, who left us suddenly on April 29, 2025. I'd like to express my heartfelt condolences to Jason's wife, Sarah, and sons, Ramsey and Jared. My heartfelt condolences also go to Jason's father and mother, Right Honorable Edward and Lily Schreyer, sisters Carmel and Lisa, and brother Tobin, and to the entire Tena family. Jason was the son of a former Manitoba Premier Ed Schreyer and Lily Schreyer, and the grandson of Jake Schultz, Lily's father, who was a founding member of the National Farmers Union in Manitoba and became an MP for the CCF in 1957. Jason accomplished a big upset by defeating incumbent City Councillor Thomas Steen in 2014, a feat that rarely happens, and re-elected in 2018 and 2022 in the Elmwood East Kildonan ward. Jason had politics in his blood. During the 1988 provincial NDP leadership campaign, Jason officially joined the Manitoba NDP, and we were both active in the Marine Hemphill leadership campaign, and he acted as our ambassador to the Len Harapiak campaign, and made his first run for public office in the 1993 federal election of the riding of Selkirk-Red River. Jason later worked for his progressive predecessor at City Hall, Councillor Lillian Thomas. Jason had a talent for producing political leaflets. He went from appearing in our leaflet in 1988 to producing them when I was MP for Elmwood-Transcona. Between 2008 and 2011, Jason was in charge of my leaflets from my MP's office. He had an eye for design and a great talent for putting together an exceptional product. Being a perfectionist, however, had its drawbacks, especially with the timeframes of election campaigns. But Jason could square the circle, and when it counted, and would then become the person who distributed the leaflets with Sarah, Jared, and other family members, often until late at night. Jason was a veteran of the Elmwood sign wars from 1988 and on. Before that, Russ Johnston, the uncle of our longtime Elmwood president, Ed Innes, was the sign chair, and who was then joined by Pablo Herrera, and then Jason adopted the Ed Ennis method of perfection in signs. Now, these signs, they're all the same size, and they're all the same height, and they're all facing in the same direction, which you would expect from the professional engineer that Ed Ennis is. Jason adopted the same system. He could erect a full, large sign by himself in record time, which is impossible for the average person to do. Jason always had a vision to win. The logistical answer was to be on the street full-time, living in my truck until late at night, starting months before the election even began. Election nights were always spent attaching special thank you signs onto our regular signs on Main Street locations, a job that always lasted way too long, till 2 or 3 in the morning. The next day, the removal of, the tear down, and the storage of the signs began, and that would last another week, minimum. Jason and I and Randy Schultz and Ed Innes logged hundreds of hours in the truck during the elections, almost non-stop, through our provincial, federal, and municipal campaigns. As a result of this campaigning method, our efficiency skyrocketed, and so Jason, Randy Schultz, and I probably ran the cheapest campaigns with the most visibility and proven results, and that's hard to beat. Jason loved working with people. He worked for my colleague Steve Ashton when he was infrastructure minister, and during the 2011 federal election, we were able to arrange provincial funding for the Plessy Road underpass in less than a week, and this project wasn't even on anybody's priority list. Together, Jason and I would work on issues like local crime. This was especially true in the last municipal election of October 2022, where Jason and I ran into many people who had garages broken into and catalytic converter thefts. which helped us focus on issues that evolved eventually into the current provincial security camera rebates and the provincial catalytic converter legislation. We also supported City Councillor Brian Mays, who has worked to speed up the separation of our combined sewer system to stop the problem of sewer backup into our basements and sewer overflow into the Red River. This should not take an extra 50 years. We also demanded assistance from homeowners who have lead water pipes running from the street to the basement, which should all be replaced as soon as possible according to Health Canada. Another long overdue issue is the replacement of the second oldest bridge in Winnipeg, the Louise Bridge. Built at the time of the shootout at the OK Corral in 1881, we spent countless hours distributing leaflets and collecting signatures in a long-standing effort to replace the bridge with 3 lanes in each direction and keeping the old bridge as local access and an active transportation link. Jason even insisted on publishing pictures of the underside of the Louise Bridge, featuring numerous plywood patches covering many holes still on the old 2-lane functionally obsolete bridge. And those patches are still there today. We go there by the boat, take pictures of them. Jason was also responsible for restarting the Elmwood seed campaign, which had stopped in 2011. Jason had the great idea of restarting the seed distribution during the COVID-19 pandemic. And while I was buying Mackenzie seed packets, Jason went back to where we got the original idea. And that was in 1966. Burroughs MLA Ben Hanischuk came up with the idea, former speaker by the way, with the idea of buying seeds in bulk, filling bags by hand and stapling a label on the seeds. Jason, as the councillor, briefly became one of the largest seed wholesalers in Winnipeg. And he, Sarah, and Jared spent an enormous chunk of the pandemic producing bags of seeds, which they distributed to every house in the Elmwood East Kildonan ward with a printed planting instructions carefully inserted in each package. Another great idea Jason had was the big yellow Keep Concordia ER sign campaign to get the Pallister government to back down on the closure of the Concordia ER. Originally, the Pallister Conservatives decided to close the ER totally in 2016. And after we had like 700 yellow signs up on main streets and corner lots, a year later, the government relented and it proposed a clinic, which really satisfied no one. And it wasn't until June of 2019 the government backed down. They agreed to an urgent care facility just months before the provincial election. Jason was an animal lover, and when in late 2020, we lost both our dog Lola and cat Chica, both kidney failure. Once again, Jason came to the rescue. And we drove up to Arborg during the pandemic to see Ed Schreyer's longtime friend, Ed Dern, and adopted 2 cats, Taco and Chico, who are still with us today. Jason referred us to his old school classmate, Karina Gurinsky, who is the founder of a dog welfare organization called Feed the Fur Babies Canada organization. We got our great rescue dog Chola, who's still with us. These are just a handful of the great experiences we got to share with the best friend a person could have. Jason was a good father who spent an enormous amount of time with his son Jared, including mentoring him on every aspect of political campaigning, from leaflet dropping with Dad beginning at age 5 to all the fine details of sign campaigning. We find it hard to believe that Jason is gone. We keep expecting the doorbell to ring, and Jason will be there. Thank you for being the best friend ever. Rest in peace, Jason. Honorable Speaker, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence.
Is there a leave for a moment of silence?